I'm calling this class, for the good of us all. And, we're going to talk about questions related to morality and how people make decisions about what is right and what is wrong. So this is something that I studied actually for my PhD work. I lived in Ecuador for a year and a half, and I worked with the Catholic Church. And I was particularly interested in how priests and nuns organized life in their parishes to kind of promote more of a communitarian way of living, so that when people would act in a more communitarian way in groups, and as opposed to in an individualist way, because there's a lot of power in groups, especially among people who don't have a lot of resources. So if you go to the next slide. So when you think about morality, think about what's right and what's good, and what's wrong and what's bad. Okay? And so, it's like when everything that we do in life, every interaction we have with people, every conversation we have with people, we're making decisions about what's good for us and about what's good for them, or what's good for us versus what's good for people around us. So for me, for example, I am always thinking in moral terms in this room, because I think constantly about what I want, and then I think about what you want, and I think about what I think is good, but then I think about or what is bad, and I think about, what do you think is good and bad? And somehow we have to come to these kinds of agreements. And human beings live in this state of balance between what's good for oneself and what's good for the other people. And some people are more oriented toward other people, meaning when they think about their actions and when they have ideas about their thoughts, they orient their thinking toward others around them. And other people are more oriented toward themselves. So they think about, what's good for me, before they think about other people. And both are fine. Both are good. It's like if we live in an individualist system and everybody simply takes responsibility for themselves, and everybody in that system only acts for themselves and what they need and what they want, in a way, if every single person was, as we talk about, selfish, self-oriented, the system runs perfectly fine, because everybody just does what they need, and if something goes wrong, they're responsible for it, and they take responsibility and they accept responsibility. And you can live in a system in which everybody is operating for everybody else. So everything we do, we're in it together. We're thinking about what other people need. They're thinking about what I need. We're constantly in this state of back and forth of community, a communitarian orientation. Most people lean one way or the other, like those of you. Some of you are your roommates. Some people just do the dishes all the time. They're dirty dishes. They just come in and they do it. Some people never do dishes. You have roommates, some of you have roommates, or some of you never do any dishes. You just somehow expect everybody else around you, your roommates, are going to just do it. Like maybe your mothers or your fathers did dishes at home. And you're just like, yeah, whatever. You don't think about it because you're thinking about yourself. And other people are constantly thinking about other people. Cultures are the same way. Some cultures are oriented toward individualism, and some cultures are oriented toward communitarianism, meaning that most people in the culture, most of the time, are thinking about the needs of other people and what other people desire and what other people want. And in the individualist culture, most people, most of the time, are really just thinking about themselves. And so, cultures are always going back and forth, but there is a definite orientation toward the other in some culture, or toward the community, and a definite orientation toward the individual in other communities. Okay? So, we're going to have a conversation. We have two guests with us today. One guest is from Korea, a communitarian-oriented culture. The other guest is from Denmark, also a communitarian-oriented culture. And what we're going to do today is highlight and illuminate what life is like in a culture that is communitarian-oriented, in which people are walking around constantly thinking about what the needs and desires are of other people before they think about what the needs and desires are of themselves. Because it's very different than the United States. Okay? So, let's go to our next slide. Oh, here's one. I forgot I put this up there. I have this person in Korea that is constantly sending me videos of examples of communitarian orientation among Koreans. This is an example. I took a screenshot of this video where a fruit truck, spilled over on the streets in Busan, and people stopped and they got out of their cars and they helped gather all the fruit and put it back in the boxes, and they put it back on the truck, and the truck moved on. Nobody took anything. There was no frenzy. There was nothing. I got a video of also in Korea where money fell out of a truck, and people just got together, they got the money together, and they put it back, and the truck went on its way. Nobody took anything. Now, this might happen, and this also happens in the United States, in a place like the U.S., but what we often see here is people just go in and they grab, because it's an individualist orientation. And that kind of thing you almost never, ever would see in a place like Korea. You might see the communitarianism here, along with the individualism, but you almost would never see that type of individualist behavior in a place like Korea. So it's a very different way of seeing. So as we're having class today, I want you to just be thinking about what it's like. What would it be like if I grew up? And some of you have grown up in more communitarian-oriented cultures, but just think about, what it's like if I grew up in that way. Anyway, first guest. Next slide. Kenny, welcome to Social 119. Yeah. This is my friend Kenny Bay, and it's an honor for me to have you in class.
It's my honor. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, no, it's very. So you are just a little bit of. Your career has been at KBS in Korea, and also you started COCAF, but I'm also a member of COCAF.
Right.
Yeah, and say what COCAF is.
Hello. Thank you very much for introducing me so nicely. My name is Kenny Baek-hyung. I'm a television producer working for KBS, which is a representative public broadcaster in South Korea. Actually, I'm visiting on my vacation to see my son, who's in New York. And I thought, as I'm nearby, it's a great opportunity to visit Professor Sam's class, which is very, very popular in South Korea. And thank you very much again for having me. And I'd like to say, start with a small confession, which is I published a book called Hidden Figures of the Korean Wave. And I have to mention that.
We're gonna talk about the book.
Okay.
Yeah. I have questions about
you.
the book. So you can just come. We'll just here. Why don't you sit here? I'll sit on this side. Hey, so listen. Let's go. Can we go to the next slide? I want to talk about this idea, this communitarian idea. Okay. So let's start with this first word on top. Yeah.
I'm happy that I can read it.
Yeah.
Well, can you read it?
Yeah. Well, go to the next slide. We'll go to the next one. Here. Okay. Here we go.
Yeah. Actually, the first word, 우리, means literally we, not I. Yeah. 우리. That's a very important concept for us. When we identify us, we normally say 우리나라, not my country, but we say our country. My home, we would say our home. Even I say our wife, something like that.
Yeah.
It's Korean way of talking. But the important thing is the concept. Uri means thinking we first before I. When it comes to K-pop production or K-drama production, it's a collaborative work, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so if somebody, let's say in K-pop group, like BTS, each member, it's group work, and each member has its own role, which is leader, or vocal, a singer, a rapper, dancer, something like that. If somebody, one person, boasts too much himself, and he just takes all this spot, then the teamwork will break, collapse.
And they will hear about it.
Right.
People, the fans will. You have to. Everything is we.
Yeah.
I get this, for example, in my class. I mean, here with the stream, people who, it's not. I'm one member.
Okay.
Of this entire team. You were in the back room, you see the team in the back room. You see Danish, Layla, all of the camera operators.
Okay.
It's it's ours. So when people send me an email and they say, for example, hey, I really like your videos, I always respond with, thanks for watching our videos.
All right.
Because it's the team.
Yes, it's teamwork, team spirit.
And we're going to talk about the book in a second.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, go to the next one. Right? Go back. Right, next one. Forward, right there. Yeah.
겸손, it's literally, it means humility. Let's say BTS again. If after he wins an award, they normally say appreciate and we are very grateful to the fans, and they don't even will work harder than before. It's a 겸손 attitude.
Yeah.
That makes the fans feel more respected from the artist.
So the artists are not, the response isn't like, oh, aren't we amazing? Aren't we great? Are we
that's not our way.
When you watch,
we don't say we are the best up to now. That's why I get this is not Korean style.
So I watch
our style here. Our style is not we are they don't say we are the best, but rather they say, fans, you are the best. Because of you, I came here.
Yeah, it's always the other.
That makes the fans respected. At the same time, for the artist, it's kind of the they make their performance better later on. Yeah.
When I watched the award show, the Asian Pop Award show, and it's so interesting to see the way all of these artists from East Asia come up and respond to getting the awards and what the things that they say versus what happens here in the United States at these award shows.
Yeah. And 겸손, at their award ceremony, it's easy to prepare, but in real life, it's hard, it's difficult, but this is very important attitude for all Koreans.
Yeah, humility. Well, you see it when people, so for example, when you normally, so if you stand up, normally you and I, we would greet each other in this kind of way.
Yeah.
You're demonstrating.
Respect to others.
And it doesn't matter who we are, we're going to do that.
If we first meet, we notes like this.
Yeah.
That's what I did when I was introduced.
Yeah. Okay, how about the next term?
체면. It's somewhat difficult to translate. If you don't mind, I want to talk about 체면 and 눈치 together because which I feel very similar. It's hard to translate because we don't have the exact English word for that. But
to say something though.
Mhm.
When he says it's difficult to translate, that now you should really key in here, because this is the idea that you've got this culture with a language that you can't even really explain the meaning of words to a different culture. It's so deep inside. So go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, I would say 체면 and 눈치 is at the same boat. I mean, it can use at the same context. Let's say 체면 is a kind of the thinking of others, social awareness. You know, how do I say? To make a sympathy to others' feeling, not let them speak directly. It's a kind of respect to others. So we always think about how other people will feel. So if it's a teamwork for K-drama or K-pop, it's all collaborative work. This is very important. Because you have to control yourself, adjust yourself to others. You adjust your tone and manners. You adjust even your behavior.
Yeah.
That makes teamwork better, the better outcome. And I would say it's emotional intellectuality.
And that's the nunchi side of
Yes.
it. The Chemyun, what about the idea of saving face? Like, you know,
Oh,
always-
that's good English that I was looking for.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that your English is better than me. Yes, it's save some faces. Huh?
because the community.
Yeah.
If you get out of line or something, you'll be judged by
Yes.
other people.
Right,
How-
right.
Are you always thinking about being judged by others? Like,
Yes, from time to time, we'll be judged by others' eye. So, I am, but I want to be seen as a better person. So I'm trying to show my better ego. That's Chemyun.
okay, yeah.
It's
And then
a
if
little bit
you're
complicated, but that makes myself better, improving myself, because I want to show better to you. You know, when you fall in love, you meet your girlfriend or boyfriend, you want to, wash and make some cosmetics
Yeah.
something like that. That's one good way to show. And even though you don't have much money, big money, but when you pay in Korea, normally one person pay. Dutch pay is not that popular in Korea, but for Chemyun, people like to pay, thinking of others.
Yeah.
That's kind of the save the face for others.
So then, if you're treating, if anybody here, if I'm treating them in a kind way, if they know I see them and I'm treating them well, I'm saving face, right? Like
Sure.
I'm showing my best side. I'm showing, and so when everybody is doing that, then you have a lot of really good interactions with people.
You can say that again. Actually, Chemyun is no more a virtue; it's a way of life.
That's
Korea.
that's the harmony. So in Korea, harmony is really important.
Correct.
And Chemyun and Nunchi, it's like, you get
You're
harmony.
an expert in Korean language.
Yeah.
Good.
No, but okay. It's really fun to ask you these. So you didn't know I was going to ask you these questions. So you have
I
to
didn't
think.
know that.
But
Okay.
what I always say about culture though is, you outsiders, oftentimes, like the fish doesn't understand water. The fish just is in the water.
Right.
And sometimes you need someone who's not a fish to tell the fish, hey, listen, you're in water.
Yeah.
Let me explain what water is.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey, so I'm going to ask you some questions.
Wow. It gets harder.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see now you know how they feel. Hey, so listen, let's talk a couple minutes about this book.
Oh,
okay?
yes.
So the book is, you can go back to the slide of Kenny, but so Hidden Figures in Korean Wave. And so why'd you choose that title? Like, why is that?
Okay, the title can be translated the Korean wave, the invisible hand who made the Korean wave, or officially we translate hidden figures of the Korean wave. What I mean is, the Korean wave, Korean culture is normally understood by stars. We celebrate BTS, we celebrate Blackpink, we celebrate Parasite, we celebrate Squid Game, we celebrate K-pop Demon Hunters, we celebrate great hits, global hits. However, I would argue that who made this phenomenon happen? There must be somebody who made this ecosystem, right? I would say there were the producers who made this happen behind the camera, and the editors in the dark room, and the distributors who negotiate in the market, and the old tired staffs behind the curtain. They are the hidden figures, I would say. But most importantly, the fans who translated, who streamed, who clicked, and who shared, and who enjoyed the Korean content. They are the real protagonists of this phenomenon. That's the core idea of this book. So you don't really need to buy this one. You already got this. Congratulations.
So the idea, it's really what we were saying. This is why I think this is such an important book, right? Because what you're saying is, look, this thing called the Korean wave, all of this Korean culture that's coming at you, it's not just the people that you see. It's all of the people behind the scenes, just like my class. If the camera operators, Nisha's, Layla, everyone's the people who are not here, the people who are in my ear, right? Everyone is equally as important as me. And if I don't understand that, there's no harmony among us.
Yes, right? Yes, exactly. Actually, some people might think Professor Sam Richard, he is celebrity, he's star of this lecture. But we know the story. We have staffs who's working, the technicians and all the volunteers, and most importantly, you are the real protagonist of his class. I mean it. Right?
For sure.
That's what I'm talking about. Not only Sam's contribution, but also your contribution to this class is most critical. Does it make sense? It's same to Korean wave culture.
Yeah, and here especially, because if it were just me talking, people wouldn't. They'd watch for a couple of minutes, but then they would stop.
It's you're sparking.
It's
ideas.
Okay, so I have a question for you. For example, so I have an endorsement.
Oh, yes, I have to mention, Professor Sam Smith kindly wrote a generous endorsement which added the intellectual value of this book, but not yet for the sales.
No, okay, but here's the key. Okay. My endorsement included your name and all the writers. And you took your name, you changed my endorsement and took your name out of my endorsement. So on the page where I write, hey, Kenny and everyone writing the book, you did a great job, and you took Kenny out.
Yes. Actually, I apologize for that, but I thought it's 겸손, the humility that I mentioned. If he mentioned at the endorsement my name, it's like people. The readers might think I'm the critical person, something like that. So I deliberately delete my name from his endorsement. Apologize for that.
No, that's good. I thought you probably would take your name out. Okay, but let me ask you this question. You said earlier, so I don't talk in this class about, I don't like to talk about the class. Once in a while I will say, hey, we had a video that had like 5 million views or something. I don't know, you know. But I don't like to do that, and I don't talk about myself. And so are you, when you came up and you said, oh, Professor Sam Richards, yeah, he's really famous in Korea, and I went, oh God, like I don't want you to, I didn't want you to say that. Okay, but you said that. So were you thinking that, because I'm thinking of just the humility, and I don't want to be special. How do you, so the question for you that I have for you is, how do you manage that with people? Like, you know, like, how do you manage that? When do you know not to say, to not say something like that? And when do you know to say it? How do you do that in your mind? Yeah.
Well, you know, to me, it's very natural to say that this class is very famous, and it's my great privilege to be here, and it's my honor, something like that. This is not flattering, but I mean it, and it's to say so is to show my respect to you and your class.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
to me, it's natural.
So the respect then in that moment becomes higher than, hey, I don't want to make Sam feel uncomfortable. But so it's a different way of doing it, right? The respect is high.
Right.
I got you. Okay. This is the nunchi part,
yes,
right?
Yes.
We're
really always thinking about others.
You're always reading. You're always trying to understand. Okay. How about this? How about when you were coming, when I said, hey, why don't you come speak in 119? How do you manage between going on Facebook and saying, you as a Korean,
yes.
Okay? How do you manage the idea of like, oh, I want to tell people I'm going to be in 119, and I don't want to say that I'm going to be in Social 119, you know, because you kind of, like here in the U.S., we would teach people, oh my God, you have to go out on social media, you have to say, oh, I'm going to be in da-da-da, oh, come watch me, come this, like be the center, put the spotlights on me, show that, right? But you can't do that.
No.
Because if you did that, people, other Koreans would say, what would they say?
Most probably, with your permission, I will post what I feel here and what I have learned from here. But you know, if I post before this event, it's kind of boast yourself. It's not, you know, it conflicts with our 겸손 attitude.
Yeah.
You say it's not humility attitude. But with your permission, I might post. And to me, actually, it's a great opportunity to share my thoughts and ideas, especially for Korean wave culture. It's with the young creative minds here in Pennsylvania State University. It's a big thing to me. Personally, I'm really honored. And
for me, I'm equally honored to have you.
Thank you.
So the idea is, you, even if you feel excited, but I'm going to see Sam, my friend Sam.
Yes.
I'm going to go to his house. We had dinner last night. Even if you feel excited by that, you don't say it. Like you can't say it, or you don't say it. Like you somehow learn to not put your excitement out into the world.
It's a difficult question. Actually, it's person to person these days. But for me, and most Koreans are somewhat modest, especially boasting themselves. So the attitude, you know, if I say, you know, I have this kind of thing, the listener might feel feel not good because so that makes so much jealousy. If I tell my friends that I was invited Sam's dinner, they might be jealousy, right? And this is great opportunity. You know, a lot of huge classroom and have the opportunity, something like that. So I want to keep somewhat modest way. Yeah.
Listen, no, I have a similar thing,
Okay.
right? That I don't. When people send me an email,
Okay.
say like, "Hey, I watch your class. I really love what you're doing." I feel in my stomach. I feel like, oh God, I just feel shy. I feel I don't want to hear that. Because I don't want to be the nail that sticks up and gets pounded down. I don't want that. So it's like, no, don't. So if you said, like, you on Facebook and you say, "Hey, look, all these things." I was in class and somebody might comment to you, "Hey, that's a little too much." Or would they comment, or would they just keep it in their own minds?
Okay, I might post to my Facebook about what I experienced here. That's not like, I had the opportunity to speak in front of a lot of, smart students, but rather I would say I have learned a lot from Sam's class, and he talked about the the cultural differences between countries, Dutch and Korean, and that's to understand the way how people think about the culture. This kind of thing is a polite way to deliver ideas. That's what we do.
A polite way.
Politeness, yes.
That's so. Listen, isn't it wild that we in the American culture, it's just like, show yourself, be the center of everything. We're taught, like, you need to be special, you need to be different, and you're being taught.
Actually, this is not delivering information. It's like delivering emotion.
Yeah.
You know what? The Korean culture is delivering emotion. If you fly American Air, your body travels, right? If you fly on Korean Air, your body travels too. But if you never board on Korean flight, Korean Air, but Korean culture can, land in your room. What I mean is, you open Netflix, you meet Korean dramas, you open Spotify, K-pop, and you open YouTube, and you have the Korean skincare beauty recipe, right? That means airlines carries passengers, while Korean Wave carries emotion and storytelling. Does that make sense?
This is how Korean culture, all of these things, are part of the fuel of the Korean wave.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, airlines need fuel, but for Korean culture, you only need no boarding pass is necessary, only Wi-Fi, and you will get the connection with the Korean culture.
You mentioned the airlines, for example. When I fly Korean Air, it is so different.
Oh, really?
The flight attendants, the staff, it just is different. The way people are, the way they engage, and you feel it. It's almost like the oxygen mix has changed.
Okay. To me, it's same. I'm much comfortable when I take a Korean Air, I would say.
Yeah, same here. No, I really would prefer flying Korean Air. Or Japanese airline.
Yeah.
So that question I had for you about how the Korean wave has really been, it's really rooted in this idea. All of these, can you go to those four terms? These four terms here.
Yes.
The Korean wave wouldn't be the Korean wave without that.
I would say this 우리 spirit and 겸손 spirit, yes, 체면 and 눈치 all contributed because this, I already explained the terms. This kind of spirit makes makes a contribution to deliver Korean culture well in people globally.
Yeah. And you know it. You
Yeah.
feel it when you
Yeah.
see it. Yeah. Hey, so listen, we're going to. So first off, thank you. Yeah.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very
And
much.
you.
감사합니다.
감사합니다. So why don't you sit here? You can sit on the desk. It might be better if you sit on the
Okay.
desk, because I want you to contribute also into our next segment.
Okay.
Yeah, it's such an honor to have you here.
Yes, gentleman in front.
So can we go to the next slide and bring our guest in? LeAnne, can you hear me all right? Are we in? Oh, you're muted. I think.
Hi.
Yeah, hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, we are rocking and rolling. I think you see me, right? In the class behind me?
안녕하세요.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, LeAnne.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. LeAnne used to live in Korea when she was a
really?
child.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. It's beautiful.
So let's tell us about yourself. So I just said to Kenny, the best people who can kind of transmit a culture are outsiders. And you are this American woman who's lived in different parts of the world, but now you've ended up in Denmark.
In Denmark. Yeah.
Yeah. How'd you get there?
Well, it's a love story, but I met my husband at an international conference and I left LA to move to Denmark, where I've been living now for about 15 years.
And so you are living in this communitarian culture,
Yes.
very much like Korea.
Very much.
It's so interesting that the Danish culture is really built around what you were talking about in terms of
Culture being oriented towards others instead of a culture being individual. Yeah.
And what was the most difficult part of the transition for you?
Am I only allowed to name one?
Yeah, okay, yeah. Name a bunch. I mean, because you're an American, right? So you're very individualistic in your orientation, or you were. But so how is that?
It was difficult to learn about fitting in with Danes because as Americans we hear that Denmark is the happiest places on earth, right? So I went over there just joyful and happy to be there, and I wanted to talk to people and make new friends. And I've never had a problem with that before. But when I got there, I was noticing that people were very distancing themselves from me. And it really wasn't until I was introduced by my students at Aalborg University about the Jente laws, where everything started to make sense finally. Do you want me to talk about that, or do you want?
Yeah. No, go for that. Yeah, we can go to the next slide. Yeah. The Jente laws. I'm going to put them all up on the slide. I don't have them up right now because I want them to hear from you first. Okay. But this is everything we've been talking about here. So give us the Danish version of that.
Okay, so I'm teaching in a university class with about 110 students, and I taught at Penn State before I moved to Denmark. So I'm used to this very vivacious, engaging culture with my students, but I get to Aalborg University and it is silent. And I go home crying. What am I doing wrong? Why won't my students engage with me? And I go back to class the next week and I'm like, come on, y'all. Like, what's happening here? Why won't you talk? And then someone very quietly, because this was very transgressive for this person to speak up, informs me that there's something called the Jente laws. Whew. Okay, so there are about 10 of these laws, if you will, that are all about how as a Dane, you are not allowed to think that you are different from the group, that you are special, that you are as good as the group, let alone you cannot think that you're better than anybody else. You are not smarter than anybody else. Um, you're also not allowed to think that you're good at anything, by the way. And you're not allowed, oh, Sam, you're not allowed to laugh at us. You also you can't think that anybody cares about you or what you think or what your contribution is. And by the way, don't think that you can teach us anything either. And then, the clincher is that there's this sort of funny kind of 11th law, which is, and by the way, we know things about you. So it's kind of held over your head so that you don't act out or act special. And so everybody's very quiet. It's very like group work, group settings, group exams, so on and so forth.
American, I can imagine just how difficult that would be. Yeah. So you must have, so that you got to learn constantly to tone it down,
Yes, this was
right?
so hard. Yes, I had to tone it down. I had to reel it way in. I came from LA where I was working in the film industry and the music industry. So it's just this very outgoing, vivacious culture. And that was not allowed. People had to discover my credentials, if you will, on their own. I wasn't allowed to really tell people what my credentials were. And I think maybe your students will think it's funny because sometimes we're walking around like, you know, don't you know who I am? And I worked with famous people, but that is, you're not allowed to say things like that. But it's okay for them to discover it about you and ask you about it.
So I have actually a funny story that happened just earlier today. Uh, that I'm also I'm very careful about. I, first off, Lori is always telling me in this town, for example, she's like, dude, people know who you are. And I'm like, nobody knows who I am. Like, nobody pays attention. Like, it's in my way of being to think that I'm invisible. Even right now, even with the cameras on, even with all of you in the room, I live my life as though I'm invisible, that nobody sees me. That allows me to be who I am, just to be natural like that. I'm never thinking about it. So I have to be reminded all the time that you're not invisible, first off. Secondly, you need to be careful about toning it down because sometimes you have this gregarious personality and you tell these jokes and you do things and like you need to really not be special and definitely don't because they don't know that you don't think you're special because truly I don't. I am there's no you just have no idea, right? But they don't know that. So then I have to double down with it. I have to be like, oh man, I got to be really small. Even though in here I have to be big, you know? Man, so that's
It's interesting that you're saying that because I ran into um, things where I wanted to start my own business, and the business that I wanted to start was a bachelor's degree in creative writing in Denmark. And so I gathered around my Danish friends, and I'm like, "How do I make this happen?" And they're just like, "It isn't done. You don't make it happen. It isn't done." And so a few years into it being done, they are in a way they're like very attracted to this Americanness where I'm like, well, I'm gonna do it. And they're like, but you can't do it. And I'm like, but I'm gonna do it. And then at a point it's like, now it's done. And so there's this way of thinking where they're kind of attracted to the idea of the way that I go about breaking rules, whereas they're also repulsed by it, but they're also intrigued by how to do it.
Right, because it doesn't fit in.
Mhm.
So this goes, Kenny, like last night at dinner, I was saying, like, I have these really big ideas sometimes, like they're too big for my own good, But I was saying sometimes in Korea, I can't get anyone to bite on my ideas. They're so big, just like that. It's like, come on, hey, I got this really cool idea, and Koreans will be like, oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Right, Kenny? Does that kind of?
I never been in Denmark, and I don't have much knowledge about the North European culture. However, it seems that the America is between North European countries and Korea. But as they relax and relax and silent. It's not the way we do.
Yeah.
For us, and it's a different perspective about building society and a different perspective finding happiness.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would say, if they get happiness from the work and leisure balance.
Yeah.
And the silent, relaxed happiness. That's happiness,
And
right?
you get happiness from harmony, also, right?
Yes, I would say harmony.
Yep.
But also we need some excitement.
Yeah.
Like K-pop and K-dramas, we need ups and downs, but we have the excitement.
Yeah.
And we always pursue something to achieve.
Yeah,
For us,
yeah.
success is up to for many people.
Yeah.
For success is to achieve something.
And it's success of the we, not the
Yes,
I.
yes.
So how about, I have wait, hang on. Do you have a, so Ben here is
Hi, Ben.
married to a woman who's Chinese, right? Okay. So like you get this, and you lived in Japan.
In Japan and Korea.
And Korea?
Korea
Yeah.
for a month or two, and then China for several months.
So you have something to add in?
Americans I'm going to use this term, we're arrogant. We hear somebody say, no, you can't do that. We're like, okay, I'm going to do it, right? And we'll do it.
But see, I wouldn't call that arrogance. I would call it, it's pretty cool, actually, to think of the things that Americans, this can-do spirit, it's like, hell yeah, we're going to build the biggest thing, whatever. It's like, damn, okay, we're going to do that.
I really want to mention that the laws of Jente, they sound very culturally arrogant. Like the culture is shoving you down. With Korea, it was very much, and it is very much, no, that's not me, that's us.
Yeah.
Right. So where's that balance that you find in Denmark?
In Denmark, yeah. Okay, so where is the balance between the individual and the community?
That is such a good question. I'm not sure I have the answer for it. Can I share a kind of funny story instead? There's something in Denmark called Festelaun, and this is where the children dress up like Halloween costumes, but it's in the spring. And they hit something that's like a piñata, but it's actually supposed to be a cat in a barrel. I don't know. Anyway, when I attended my first Festelaun, this is where Danish culture really made sense to me. They take turns hitting this barrel piñata, one at a time, one hit, one hit, one hit. And they go in a line and they get back in the line. They hit, hit, hit. Finally, it explodes with candy. The candy goes everywhere. Now, in my experience, it is survival of the fittest. If you want to get that good candy, you are jumping in there and grabbing those, Reese's peanut butter cups and Snickers. Not in Denmark. Whoever the king or queen of Festelaun is, the person who has bashed open this piñata, they get to pick one piece of candy, maybe two. And then they sit in a circle and they go around, and each kid gets to take 2 or 3 pieces at a time. And all of a sudden everything really like clicked into place for me, where I realized that there's this other idea where it's like we're all going to get the same amount of candy, so we don't have to fight for it. And also, no matter if you're in the front of the line or the back of the line, you are going to get what is coming to you in the best sense of the word. You will get a better job. You will be able to buy a house. You will be able to afford new clothes. You will be, your turn will come. And so there's a lot of patience within the Danish culture that I really appreciate and I really love. We're not all necessarily scrambling for the same thing. Even if you're unemployed, the government takes care of you. You can get internships. They will find you a job. You're getting paid anyway. The unemployment is pretty much equal to the salary you were making, and that can go on for a few years. It's not like a very short-term thing. So there is, I realize the Jente laws do, you describe them very well, but and I think that's because the author of them was writing a satirical fictional book. But but what is really behind it is really a culture of caring for one another, and it really starts at this incredibly young age. Yeah.
That's an awesome story. Hey, I want to show the slide on taxes here. So like how I'm gonna put this up. So this is a salary of about $8,400 USD, which is about $100,000. So this is, I just picked it because it seemed like it would work. And look at Denmark compared to the United States. A lot more take-home money in the United States. I mean, and that's it's going to be more after deductions, right? And then look at the tax burden, 25% on everything. I buy a camera, I buy a book, I hire a plumber to come fix my house. Everything you're going to add 25% tax on all goods and services. My car, you buy a $50,000 car, it's going to cost you $75,000 just to register the car and get a license plate. So much. Yeah, wait, 150? Oh yeah, 125,000. Yeah. It's going to cost you over $100,000 to register the car. You know what I mean? Like, think about these things, right? Now, but let's talk so first off, when you start paying these taxes over there, you like see them coming out of your paycheck. That must have been really tough for you.
I'm going to respond with another story. So, as I was teaching at Aalborg University, I don't know, it's like April or May, and I check my bank account, and all of a sudden I have like 12,000 kroner there. And I get Steen, my husband, Steen, honey, the bank has made this huge mistake. I have 12,000 extra kroner in my bank account. We got to get them to take it back right away. And he's like, no, honey, that's your vacation money. I'm like, my what now? That's your vacation money. That's the money you get to go on vacation. So yes, when I first got there, of course, prices seemed outrageous. However, you get a lot more back from the government. I guess you have another slide about that, but
People here, they're like, oh, socialism is bad. All right. So this is basically the closest we're going to get to socialism here. So one thing that I said when I was texting LeAnne was like, look, it's going to be really hard to be a millionaire, but it's not difficult to do really well and to be really comfortable. Here, look at this next slide. Schools and university are free. And then can you explain the Statens Uddannelse? I don't know how to say that.
Yes, Statens Uddannelse. It's we just call it SU, which means that all students get free tuition, plus they get a monthly stipend from the government. It's probably now about 1,100 US dollars a month. So that's supposed to help pay for rent, food, yeah, beer. Of course, it's expensive in Denmark.
Means everybody in this classroom would not be paying any money, and you'd get about $1,100 a month.
Yes.
Coming in your bank account every month.
Plus,
That's
you
like,
would be eligible for student housing, which is also about, I don't know, like it's not very expensive at all. Uh,
so I got on the slide here. And it's good health care. It's not like we over here we'd like to say, oh yeah, but that health care is terrible. It's good health care. Elder care is free.
yes.
Child care heavily subsidized, right? Up to like 75 to 80% of the cost.
Like all of everything's covered to get pregnant and give birth. In fact, they pay you money when you deliver a baby. You get about 50,000 kroner. You also get something called børnepenge, which is child money, direct translation. And every quarter you get paid. You get paid by the government money to take care of your children up until the age of 18. You also get unlimited sick leave in Denmark. If you're sick, you stay home. There's none of this like if you work 30 days, you get like 75% of a vacation day. So by the end of the year, you've accrued 5 days of vacation. No, we all get basically 6 weeks of vacation plus an extra week plus national holidays. And then parents get these like health days for their children. Each parent can take each child out of school 2 days a year to just take them somewhere to have fun, basically. Yeah.
Days. By the way, hey class, this is why. Remember, the United States is the greatest country in the world. Capitalism is the greatest system in the world, right? Keep that in mind, right?
Isn't
Keep that
it?
in
It's
mind
going
as
to
we're
be
talking.
fun when Trump takes over Greenland because then you're all going to get all of this stuff.
You can all just move to Greenland, and you'll have all of this because we'll be Danish citizens, right? Isn't that how it's going to work? So the thing is, you don't. So you have to deal with this idea that you're paying a lot of money for all of these other people around you. But because when I'm looking up here, I see healthcare, elder care, all of these things, right? But eventually you're going to get it back because you don't have to worry about your retirement, right? If you pay into the system, it's going to be taken care of for you. Because the government and people around you, because we are the government, people are going to just take care of you.
Yes.
And that's how it works.
Yes. There's
that must be hard for when you were now, like it's hard to trust that, or it must have been in the beginning to trust that for you.
Absolutely. I'm an American. I need to have money in my savings account. I need to be building my wealth, et cetera, et cetera. And my husband is much more laissez-faire. Well, it'll be taken care of. Why would we worry about that? So that was definitely a big challenge to get over. Homeless people in Denmark have apartments and cell phones and jobs. They're taken care of.
They're not truly homeless.
They're not truly homeless. They are housed and they are fed and they are also given monthly stipends. There's a give and take here because of course not everyone is going to take advantage of all of these things. So I'm paying 25%, but I already have an education, so I'll never get free tuition or the monthly stipend. My husband and I don't have children, so we'll never get all of the børnepenge. But we will retire there. We will receive retirement money. We will be taken care of in terms of elderly when we become so. And so there is that kind of a sense of community where, some people are going to be paying for other people and not receiving the same benefits, if you don't partake in that particular thing, right?
You have to come to terms with that. Yeah. But the risk is that you're left on your own because the company you're working for downsizes and then you're stuck. And like, okay, I don't have as a Korean, so Korea is very similar in many ways.
but I feel that it's a totally different context.
Yeah.
Historically and socially, we're totally different.
Yeah.
I envy that in Denmark, schools and universities free, healthcare is free, healthcare is free. I envy that, but we pursue that kind of the social welfare. However, we cannot accommodate it because we can't afford it.
Yeah.
The reason is simple because South Korea, we don't have big natural resources. Our country is not that huge like U.S. We are a small country, and we had in last century we had a war and military regime and a lot of economic crisis. We endured all the ups and downs in recent history. However, what we pursue is social welfare. Yeah. But the thing is that our export, our power comes from the competition. I would say. You might know the Korean word "빨리빨리."
Bali.
It may sound it's faster, something like that. It may sound somewhat negative, but I would say that it's competition makes competitive, because we can't survive without selling our goods and our content to the world.
But and yet, so LeAnne, this is what's really interesting. So it's like all this intense competition.
Sure.
But you're competing in this whole sea of harmony. This is one thing I experienced this in Korea, where I feel this is real intense competition, but I don't see it. You know what I mean? It's like, wait, where is it? Because I know it's happening, but yet there's just this way in which there's a harmony in spite of the competition.
That's an important thing.
And in Denmark, LeAnne, where do you see? And by the way, do we have a question from the stream? Where do you see the competition? Really? I mean, how do you see that?
I'm sure it exists, but I haven't really seen very much of it. There's more of an attitude that because the government's paying your tuition and paying you to go to school and become educated, it's also on the government. It's the government's responsibility to provide you with jobs. So the government has to employ you, and if the government can't provide a job for you after you graduate from college, that's the government's fault, and therefore they have to pay you via something called dagpenge, which is similar to unemployment but without any shame, right?
Oh my God. Hey, see that? If you had that, think all of those who are graduating seniors, you're going to be graduating in May, and your stomach's in a knot because you don't have a job yet. If you live there, you wouldn't have to worry about it. It's just like, all right, well, I'll get a job or I'll get this other thing. Do you have a question from the stream? Yeah.
I see maybe a similarity in, or I want to ask about Korea and how Denmark approaches this, especially with their laws of how people communicate. How important is a person's intention with how they present themselves? Because in Korea, you might want to announce that you're going to Sam's class to educate people that you can do something like this. But someone might have the intention of doing it to show off. So how important are intentions in those two countries?
That's a really good question. How is that read?
Actually, it's very subtle. Everything has both sides of sword. Yeah, it could be understood as boasting, or or it can change into other words like pride, something like that. So the thing is the perspective of the who sees the world. And the thing you mentioned of the harmony, we need to think about how this will received by others. Then it's a good point that to see this is posting, or it's expression of yourself.
Yeah, that's such a But that's something you, LeAnne, you're learn. I mean, it's not, obviously after 16 years, you've really got that. Yeah. It must be
Interesting. I love the Danish people so much, and one thing that I've learned is that I can't over compliment them. Like especially my students, I love them so much, and they're so talented, and I want to be able to compliment them so they know how strong they are and how intelligent. And that is just it's not done. So it makes them very uncomfortable until they get to know me, and then they can accept it, but only from me. They won't leave my classroom and then go accept compliments elsewhere. They definitely won't go around boasting or bragging about their publications, for example, or their book deals, or all of these major accomplishments that they're attaining in their lives. That yeah, it's interesting.
I learned that in Korea, not to lift people up too high, because it would be a problem. Hey, LeAnne, we have a really cool question from the stream, but it's going to be for Kenny. Hey, thank you for coming. Yeah, really
Thank
appreciate it.
you.
It's awesome. Awesome. Yeah, really appreciate it. Hey, let's. Well, I want you to answer that question first, Stephen, but we're gonna do the quiz first. But well, yeah, we got. Can you put the quiz up? Yeah. You can answer it for Stephen right now while we're doing the quiz.
Okay. Did you see Stephen's question? Okay. Actually, it's a very tough question for me. But the thing is that it's globalized world. We Koreans.
Wait, and by the way, we have 1 minute left. So here, while you're taking the quiz, this is actually a really good
Okay.
thing.
We are very much influenced by the Americans, especially one big man. Yeah, what he says, and then our stock market, goes up and down. And the policy that you're making and the tax you're imposing, it's a huge impact on Korean economy. So we see, but I would say the important is the relationship between people is very important. To respect others is very important. I think it's the same to country. So the most important thing is the how do I say, the sustainability of the certain, we are very much, my fellow Americans have to Korea a lot, and a lot of Korean students study here. Then nowadays, a lot Korean products are sold here, and we are, it's vice versa, I would say. So to
mutual respect.
Yes, mutual understanding, and we will keep better understanding of each other, and for the prosperous future.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, Kenny has a couple hours, by the way, and Kenny, and so if any Korean students or any students want to have a conversation with him or go have a beer or something, please come down. Right?
혹시 thank you very much. Thank you for your attention. 한국 분들 계시면요, 한국 유학생들 계시면 잠깐 나오시면은 저랑 같이 얘기할 수 있는 그런 시간을 가지도록 하겠습니다. Sorry, if I say in Korean. Thank you very much for your attention. It's a great experience.